Most people never get to see a house like this. The drywall is not up, there's no flooring, no kitchen cabinets, and no fancy staging to distract you. But if you're thinking about buying a home, even one that's already finished, this is the kind of knowledge that gives you an edge. Because once the walls are closed, you cannot see how it was built. But if you walk through a home at this stage, if you understand how a house actually comes together, then you start looking at properties differently. You start asking smarter questions. You notice the details that other people miss. So I'm going to walk around the house and show you various features that you look for. Look at how spacious everything is. Well, things have to be supported. You see this piece of thing right here? Thing that allows everything to be supported and being open is this beam right here. You see it? Because of that beam, this whole entire area can be spacious. And so even if you have an existing house and you want to take out a wall, this is the beam that you would put in. It's called parallam, and you would hide that in the ceiling like this. So it'll all be flush. Everything will be flat. Next, let's talk about the heating. This is the way your house gets warm during the winter. This is important depending on the age of your house. There's really three kinds. There's forced air. So basically air coming out of the floor and you can feel it like a hot air dryer. Two is baseboard electric heat. These are those units towards the base. This is the third type. This is what's pretty much all used nowadays. So look at these pipes over here. They come into the ground. So from here, this is connected to the boiler out back in your utility room. Hot water comes here and goes in through the ground. And in through the ground, it heats the entire ground. It's embedded in the concrete. So I'm just going to pan up to see how the upper floor is heated. So if you look here, see, these are the orange pipes. And these orange pipes are for the heating that heats the upstairs flooring. Pros and cons of these three types of heating. First, let's talk about the forced air. Forced air, basically, it blows the hot air. So allergens, it's noisier. But the biggest thing is that it has ducting. So ducting can appear in your basement on a main level. So you have those huge drop boxes, which can be unsightly. Secondly is electrical. With electrical, it takes more of an electrical load. So it doesn't use natural gas. Depending on where you are in the world, natural gas can either be more expensive than electricity or vice versa. Third, we have the radiant heating. The reason why radiant heating is so desirable is because it provides a constant heat. The hot water passes through the pipes go into the concrete, heats up the concrete. So it's like a slow, steady heat, unlike forced air where the furnace turns on and it's hot for 2 minutes, then it turns off and it gets cooler for about a couple minutes, then it gets cool after that. But basically with the radiant heating, it's constant, and from that, it's energy efficient as well. If you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, please download my free ebook below. I'm actually going to be covering more items than items covered in this video because there's so many components to a house. Looks like somebody's been taking a bath in here. These are not drained yet. But in actual fact, a lot of times after the plumbers have hooked up these, either the bathtub or the shower stall, they kind of fill it with water to test for leaks. This has been here for several days and no leaks. Of course, that was the bathtub. This is the shower pan. This is going to be a custom shower, meaning they're going to place tile on top of this, as opposed to the acrylic shower pans, like the shower bases. So how do they do that? This is the drain over here, okay? You can't see it here, but this is sloped all towards there. And it's sloped by underneath this. This is the orange membrane, right? Which prevents water penetration. Underneath that, there's a concrete that kind of slopes that way. So everything, so that it's waterproof. And this goes straight up to the wall. So picture this wall here will be tile, right? Water, people take showers, it comes down here and goes there. And again, they put water here now so that to test for any leaks. So far, so good. Because if you did see a leak, you'll see it on the ceiling below, or this will be empty. Installation just arrived. You have all these numbers here, like R50. Actually, let's go inside. That number is the insulative properties of insulation. Higher the number, the more heat proof or more insulation it has. And it fits into the ceiling, the attic, gaps between here. Now, this house is kind of cool. It has insulation on the inside, which these bats over here, right, will fit kind of in here. But let me just show you the outside. And so this has insulation on the outside as well, exterior and interior. There's a reason for that. Most houses do not have that exterior insulation that you saw, and this is the reason. So insulation goes in, drywall goes over it like this, big piece of drywall. But this insulation that sits here, sure, this is kept nice and warm on the inside. But what about this? This piece of wood can still conduct heat to the outside, right? So basically, that exterior insulation kind of makes up for this. This house is all framed up. A lot of the bones, the piping, the electrical, it's all in. And let's just walk around inside. I'm going to talk to you about the permit process and how that went. Okay, when building something like this, the permit process does take quite a while. Obviously, you have to first sit down with an architect, talk to them about what you want, and they just take the land and work with an engineer and come with a floor plan for you. And, that depends on what the city allows, what you like. It will determine the square footage, number of levels, how many suites you can have. So whether or not you can have 2 kitchens or 3 kitchens, whether or not you can rent it out. But once you have that all into play, you then put it into the city. Everything pretty much has to be perfect. City says, okay, I accept it. Usually takes a few months, depending on which city you're in. I've seen them go from anywhere from 4 months to a year even. So after that, you can kind of plan. The city will give you an estimate as far as when they think you'll have the building permit in hand. And that's when you break ground. So after you break ground, a typical house, something like this is about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. It can take about up to a year. Fast, maybe 10 months, up to a year. Next, we're going to be talking about the plumbing and how to prevent freezing of the pipes. So this is the exterior wall of the house. So basically, beyond here is the outside. And if you look about, this is the vent. So a bathroom vent would kind of shoot air up this way and it vents. This is like a pipe for drainage. Now, if you look behind these pipes, you have insulation here and you have insulation there. It's important to have this insulation on the exterior wall just because when it gets freezing temperature outside, this insulation prevents those vents from freezing. Because once it freezes, you have a lot of problems. They can burst, they can back up, all that kind of stuff. So if we turn around and look at the interior walls, which is over here, and look at the pipes here. The pipes here, this is an interior wall. These interior pipes, where is it? These interior pipes do not need insulation, obviously, because behind these pipes is no outside, so no freezing. Okay, so here's another snapshot. No insulation behind these pipes that face the interior wall. We're going to talk about window sizes. Window sizes are important because according to code, they have to open a certain way and open in a certain size so that people can escape them in the event of a fire. This is called egress. Here we got the handle. Stick this handle in like so. Unlatch it. And see, this is a crank open window. But the egress means that this has to open big enough so that people can kind of, in the event of fire, just stand out there. Okay, so this is the air conditioning unit. It kind of shoots up into the attic where everything there is insulated. And it's in the attic. Well, the reason why it's insulated is because if you think about all that cool air, once it goes into the attic's super hot. And, then the cold air will become hot, which is good. So make sure it's insulated. Now, this is a brand new house. It's being inspected so that the code's going to check for that. But even if you have an older home and you do insulation, it's really important that whatever pipes you run through the attic, it's insulated so that, your air remains cool. Okay, what are these three turbo looking kind of vents over here? This is HRV unit. It's basically a air recycle system where so a house needs breathing, right? But if you have fresh air coming into the house and it goes straight back out, all that expensive heat that you heat up is gone to waste. It kind of blows out the window. What this does is that it's an air exchanger, meaning you take the hot air as you blow it out, you exchange it with the cold air coming in. You exchange the heat, so it kind of does a heat swap, and you don't lose heat that way. That's the HRV.